From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, I'm Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, January 19th. Have the winter coat out today. Your heaviest one you got. It is really cold outside. We're going to struggle in the temperature department. Highs will creep only into the mid-20s. Police are asking for help as they try to solve a shooting. It happened Saturday afternoon near Fall Creek and Meridian, just north of downtown. Gunfire left the victim in critical condition. IMPD has shared some information for you. We got pictures on wishtv.com. A light-colored SUV with somebody inside. Detectives want to find them. If you recognize them, if you go on our website, look at the pictures. IMPD asks you to call the homicide detective, Erica Jones. The number is 317-327-3475. You can also call Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS. The city of Indianapolis is taking to the streets hoping to end the violence. Mayor Hogsett is announcing the hiring of peacemakers as part of a grassroots gun violence reduction effort. The plan is part of the mayor's $150 million violence reduction plan. Last year, the number of homicides was the most we've ever seen in the city. Mayor Hogsett says he's hired 35 people to be peacemakers. He says they finished training this week and will start the job Monday. He expects to hire 15 more soon. We've mentioned it before on Wish that last year the city saw 271 homicides, breaking the record from 2020, which had 245. We are not even through the full month of January yet, but police say they've arrested at least 75 people this year. IMPD Assistant Chief Chris Bailey was on Unfiltered last night. He says that we're at the same point that we were at this time last year.
It seems like about after this point last year in January, we saw another spike that took us into the 20s in the month of January.
Keeping the violence from last year in mind, the peacemakers are comprised of 3 different positions: interrupter, life coach, and outreach worker. All are required to have connections and experience in the communities they serve. The plan will be in the making for a while now. It has been. It began in 2018 with only 2 members, and it's a high priority for the mayor after the past 2 years of record-breaking violence. Voting rights legislation collapses on Capitol Hill. In a late-night vote, Democratic leaders failed in their push to change the Senate rules to overcome a Republican filibuster. Overnight, President Biden released a statement. It reads in part, "I am profoundly disappointed that the United States Senate has failed to stand up for our democracy. I am disappointed, but I am not deterred." One of the Democratic holdouts on the filibuster change, Senator Joe Manchin, held fast to his view that a rule change is the wrong approach.
With Democrats and Republicans, and let the American people decide. The pressure will come. That's what filibusters were about. The pressure mounted until you made either a compromise, you made a decision, you all decided to go. One way or another, you were going to end that filibuster.
Civil rights advocates are reacting strongly. The president of the NAACP posted a statement overnight, writing, "Tonight's shameful outcome revealed who stands for and who stands against democracy. Anything short of protecting the right to vote is a death sentence for democracy, so we will continue fighting. This fight is far from over." And today, President Biden marks 1 year in office. Year 2 starts with challenges. A recent Gallup poll shows Biden's job approval rating is at 40%, his lowest job approval rating to date. Raymond Habersky, an IU professor, says that there are many factors leading to the number. Some of the successes, he says: Biden passed a bipartisan $1 trillion infrastructure bill that will improve transit systems, roads, bridges, and water systems. The American Rescue Plan Act that provided immediate relief to families and communities during the pandemic. And some challenges, Habersky says, the president has faced: the withdrawal of military troops from Afghanistan and bills stuck in the Senate, including voting rights, which failed overnight. Just talked about that, and the Build Back Better bill. Another big issue facing Americans that needs attention is inflation. According to Habersky, Biden's approval rating does not look promising with the midterm elections looming.
There are losses that seem to be mounting with very few victories, and that's the key. He's got to have some wins. Wins will erase the memory of those losses. Because I do think that people have a short memory about things that are not directly related to their lives.
Habersky added that even though Biden's approval rating is low, a lot can change quickly. The pandemic, the supply chain crisis, and job market are all also weighing on people. Habersky also points to the uncertainty in the country as another possible factor. And President Biden says he is prepared to handle challenges, both home and abroad. The president fielded questions yesterday on everything from voting rights to the effects of COVID-19. On the topic of the pandemic, Biden says he understands people are tired and frustrated. He acknowledged that his administration could have done more testing, but says the country is in better shape compared to this time last year.
Russia will be held accountable if it invades, and it depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, et cetera. But if they actually do what they're capable of doing with the force amassed on the border, it is going to be a disaster for Russia.
Other pressing issues, Biden says he will break up parts of his Build Back Better plan into smaller pieces in order to get them passed before the midterm elections. Also, the president predicts that Russia will send troops over the border into Ukraine and that he will take action if and when it happens. Omicron is officially the dominant strain of the coronavirus in Indiana. According to the State Department of Health, 74.3% of samples taken over the last month were Omicron. The month before that, Delta accounted for most cases. And for the first time since the start of COVID, the entire state of Indiana is in red, according to the department's newest metrics map. Red is the highest level of community spread. Indiana also reported its second highest number of new cases yesterday at more than 16,500. 36 more people were hospitalized. And the CDC says both vaccination and previous infection helped protect against new COVID infections and that vaccines are more effective. It's in new research released yesterday. The study analyzed the risk of COVID-19 infection and hospitalization in about 1.1 million people. It included cases in vaccinated people with and without prior infection, and cases among unvaccinated people with and without prior infection. Researchers found the highest case and hospitalization rates among unvaccinated people who had never been infected. The CIA says it is not likely that foreign rivals are causing most cases of the mysterious illness known as Havana syndrome. A report in the New York Times says investigators believe most cases stem from environmental causes, undiagnosed medical conditions, or stress through 24 cases, though 24 cases are still unexplained. Havana syndrome complaints include nausea, headaches, and hearing loss. It was first reported in 2016 among American diplomats who had been in Cuba. Later cases happened in Austria, and last year, the syndrome delayed an overseas trip for Vice President Kamala Harris. That prompted a formal federal investigation. Washing your clothes is about to cost more. Procter & Gamble announced a price hike on laundry detergents. It's the company behind Tide and Gain. It also makes Downy fabric softener and Bounce dryer sheets. According to Procter & Gamble, retail prices are rising about 8% next month. It says the move is to help offset cost pressures. This comes just after U.S. consumer prices rose 7% annually, making the highest jump in nearly 40 years. P&G also says it plans to increase prices on some personal health care brands in April. No word yet which ones. And today, a rally for renters' rights. An advocacy group is holding what it calls the first ever Tenants' Day of Action at the Indiana State House. Organizers want state lawmakers to pass several new measures related to safety at rental properties, eviction reform, and tenant screening processes. Organizers of the Indianapolis Tenant Rights Union say speakers are coming in from all across the state. Also today, state lawmakers will meet to discuss the hotly controversial bill that would limit how teachers can talk about social issues. Several education groups rallied against the bill together yesterday. News 8's Garrett Berquist shows us.
The Indiana House could take up the critical race theory ban as early as Thursday. Ahead of that vote, education advocates say they want to take their case directly to the people. Education supporters say the bill's effects go beyond merely what is taught. They say it could reverse decades of gains for historically marginalized groups.
Black and brown students are woefully behind academically. One of the top recommendations for addressing this issue was to increase the number of minority teachers. This bill and similar bills will lead to additional decrease of minority teachers.
At its core, the bill would prohibit educators from teaching concepts commonly associated with critical race theory. Lawmakers already have taken hours of testimony from parents and teachers all over the political spectrum. The bill's sponsors say they want to keep teachers from injecting their own views into the curriculum.
I was a U.S. history teacher. I taught those things. I taught them with facts. Facts is different than theory, and that's where I'm going with this. Teach the facts. The facts will talk to students. Students will make, inform, and fashion their opinions about those.
But educators like Dr. Gwendolyn Kelly say it could tie teachers' hands when dealing with more contemporary issues, including those that come up in class.
One day, after a story was read about an African-American hero, a Hispanic child told the black child that he was glad that he wasn't black. He would rather be Hispanic than black. And so we had to deal with that in the staff, and I could see how this bill would stifle a teacher or a tutor or anyone working with children from addressing that and trying to get children to work together without prejudice.
Senate leaders killed their chamber's version of the bill amid outcry over comments on how teachers should approach Nazism. Senate President Pro Tem Roderick Bray has not yet signaled how he would handle the House's version. Governor Eric Holcomb has not taken a stance publicly either. At the State House, Garrett Bergquist, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
And for local business headlines, here is the segment from this morning. Every Thursday, we sit down with Gerry Dick of Inside Indiana Business. Here is what we talked about this morning.
And it is time for Indiana Business Headlines, part of our partnership with Inside Indiana Business and the IBJ.
Gerry Dick's the host of Inside Indiana Business. Thanks for being with us this morning. You watch the State House closely, I know. So many topics, especially for a short session. Yeah. You've got your eye on one that could affect sports and tourism.
Very interesting. You know, we talked for the last few weeks about the College Football Playoff National Championship here. Indianapolis winning that and certainly hosting that in a great way. Very competitive. Interesting bill that was introduced, I think it was last week at the State House by State Senator Kyle Walker. It would create a bid fund, if you will, to help Indianapolis and Indiana attract these big sporting events, but also conventions. As it turns out, there are about 15 states, regions, municipalities around the country that have these funds. And Indianapolis officials from the Indiana Sports Corporation to Visit Indy say they're now cherry picking some events from Indianapolis. Texas getting a big swimming competition Indianapolis wanted, in part, they say, because they had this bid fund. So the idea, create this fund to help Indianapolis and, again, other cities and regions around the state to attract these things.
So staying with that, how much money is this bid fund, and then how is it going to be divided between Marion County and other places?
Two great questions. I don't think we're going to have those answered this year. The idea is to create the structure this year for this fund. Next year, a budget writing session at the State House. They'll perhaps figure out how much would go into that. The other piece, this is not just about Indianapolis. I think this is where we'll get contentious with legislators perhaps around the state of Indiana, because communities all over Indiana are attracting sporting events. There's a big high school basketball showcase, for example, up in LaPorte, televised on ESPN. They attracted that. They think it got some great attention for the community. So these types of events in places like LaPorte and Fort Wayne and Evansville, they're going to want to be a part of this too. So we'll see how it goes.
I can hear Knightstown. I can hear Jasper. I can hear everybody saying, hey, we're going to do this. Exactly. What do you have coming up at Inside Indiana?
Well, we're going to talk with Senator Kyle Walker about this fund, what the goals are, how he sees it playing out. We will also take a look around Indiana at our Mary Rachel Redmond. We'll take a look at Oxford near Lafayette. It's the state's first, get this, community mausoleum, and it's in danger of going away. And Yelp's Brittany Smith, interesting story. She will take a look at boutique hotels. They're actually faring pretty well during the pandemic, from Hotel Indy here to the Bradley up in Fort Wayne. She'll take us around the state there. Also, as you look at the IBJ, our partners there, interesting story. They will look at what's next for the Capital Improvement Board, that entity that really manages and takes care of the big sports venues in the convention center here, how nonprofits fared in landing big gifts in 2021 during the pandemic, and prospects for a state tax holiday as well. They'll take a look at those stories and a lot more in the IBJ.
Finally, a couple sports headlines. IU and Purdue will play tonight in a big matchup of the two teams with both their eyes on March Madness. It's the first of two regular season meetings between them. IU will look to defend their home court, where they've started the season 11-0. They're coming off a big win on the road, too, against Nebraska. For Purdue, they enter the game as the number 4 team in the country. They've dominated the rivalry as of late, winning 9 straight, including 5 straight in Bloomington. The game tips off at Assembly Hall tonight at 7 o'clock. And waking up winners out west after beating LeBron and the Lakers despite an early deficit in the first quarter. A strong fourth helped the Pacers pull away with a 111-104 victory. Karis LeVert led the way with 30 points. Domantas Sabonis recorded his 4th triple-double of the season. Tonight, the Blue and Gold face the Golden State Warriors. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway. Online at wishtv.com and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.